Next, we're going to welcome Stephan, who is an artist from Portland, Maine. Aaron makes things on a daily basis, usually.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you so much for including me tonight. I'm really excited to be part of this great group of presenters. My practice spans a few different formats, from public works, gallery work, museum work, and performances, and each informs the other, and there's a lot of fluidity between all of these. And tonight I'm going to simply touch on a few different projects and themes that I'm looking at right now. This piece that you're looking at was a pivotal piece for me. It was one of my first public artworks, and it really made me realize what I can actually do with public art. This work consists of simply a standard sized table with 6 chairs around it, but the legs have been extended to 20 feet long. And there's 3 basic ways to physically approach this work. The first is when you walk through the front door, which is at the lower left-hand side of this image. And here you walk in, you're confronted by this forest of legs, and then you look up to discover the table and chairs above. But as I was developing this project, I realized that 50% of the traffic coming into this building is coming in from the 2nd floor from a parking garage at the back. And so from there, you approach this piece from this long hallway. It initially seems to be a standard sized table and chairs. And then as you approach, you discover that legs stretch down to the 1st floor. And then the last view is driving by or walking by the building. And there it becomes part of the facade of the building. It's behind this large glass curtain wall. And so you have this one piece that creates a series of very distinct experiences. Next slide. This work is inspired by the small plastic parts trees that you find on model car kits, but this one contains a full-size orchestra. All the work in this building had to address music in some way. And my first question was, how can I create a piece about music in a city that's already filled with artworks about music, right? I wanted to make sure I could enter that dialogue without repeating the same stereotypes and cliches that you see all over Nashville. And as I researched the city's history, I realized that it's not necessarily local music talent that originally made it a music center. First, it created this infrastructure of venues and music studios to kind of draw musicians in and then give them room to grow. So I came to think of that plastic parts tree as almost like a blank canvas for musicians. So you can pick and choose instruments that suit your need, a lot like Nashville itself. Next slide. This piece is at Salt Palace Convention Center. The function of the building itself was a starting point for the project. This is a place where people come together to express their allegiances, often to identify with their tribe. And I want to explore the complexities and subtleties that lie underneath the surface of these identities. The work itself faces this really long boulevard, and as you approach, it displays this huge "You Are Here" logo. But then as you get closer and move around the work, that larger message disintegrates, and you're left with these road signs that feature a series of dichotomies or decisions, right? And importantly, none of these are binary. Next slide. One thing I always keep in mind when designing a public commission is the history of monuments and sculptures in public spaces. Of course, these most often tout an official narrative, whether it's from the state or a church, and then impose this on the public. And in these works, I'm kind of looking for a way around this, right? Each work is composed of ladders, but the ladders are life size and they're scaled to match your body. And so this way, the person standing in front of the piece is invited into it, right? And it becomes a monument to this person and to their community. Next slide. In these works, I use a Greek column to explore the relationship between structure and facade. From Greek temples to federal style architecture to contemporary McMansions, this column represents the fundamental underpinnings of Western thought, right? And these pieces explore the precariousness of the symbol. Here the column deviates, it wavers, it fails, sometimes just simply set in a pile. But throughout, it's almost as if this simple structural component becomes nothing but symbolic, right? And it's lost its ability to stand or support anything beyond itself. Next slide. This work I'm working on right now, it's upcoming for Tampa Airport, and it consists of hundreds of tapered ladders receding into the ceiling above. And it's into this cove that's surrounded with this, that's coated with gold leaf. And it creates a sense of false perspective that pulls your eye up and out of the building, creating a focal point above the work. Next slide. This piece is also in process. It's based off of the kind of bombastic roadside attractions you find in the Midwest. And it's situated in this roundabout, and the existing guardrail spirals into the space and accumulates to become this large singular knot in the center. And next slide. And this is the last piece, and it comes from a body of work looking at the history and kind of social and political context of the concrete block. A large component of these two pieces is an attempt to coax some sort of beauty out of these incredibly mundane and everyday objects through simple gesture. Their construction is incredibly simple. The first one consists of 5 concrete blocks that are laid out in a simple configuration and subtly twist around a common point. And each identical course is stacked to create this very kind of graceful curve. Listen to me now. Very good. Thank you very much.